Hello there, welcome to Talking Turtle Podcast. My name is Hayden.
And I'm Teddy.
Today's episode, we'll be going through Metalhead, episode 7 of the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series.
Okay, so a little bit wrong there. It's actually episode 6, but we can work around that. Yeah.
Damn.
Either way, okay, you know what? Just keep moving forward. Just forget about it.
Right, you
No,
start, because I...
no. We'll just use no. This man like still use it. Yeah. Um, what do you think about this episode? Briefly.
Well, this episode, Metalhead, this episode, I quite, it wasn't the best episode by far, but it was an interesting one to say the least. It was, very, Donatello's episode. This one, it's a very Donatello episode. It's a very quite geeky episode, which I love because I love geeky and nerd stuff. But it's a pretty mundane episode, but overall it is kind of creepy in some parts. But we'll get into that shortly.
Yeah. I would have to say that this episode, for some reason, I found this one to be the most funniest episode we've seen so far, and I do feel like maybe it might be like I feel like maybe it has like the same sort of problem with the ref episode, where basically it has a really good message, but at the same time it falls for this episode and comes out of nowhere, but it's still a pretty decent episode. And yeah, okay. So quickly before we do actually get into breaking down this episode, what's it like to have the Krang back?
Oh, jeez, the Krang. I'd thought I escaped them for now, but nope, the Krang are coming back. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, the Krang are an important element to this series, but I can't deal with their dialect and how they talk. It's not right. As a bit of an OCD myself with the English language, I just can't right now. But let's look aside the Krang for just a moment and let's get into this episode, shall we?
Well, speaking of Krang, what episode first starts off with the Turtles fighting the Krang and going up against a big laser. What do you think about the opening fight?
The opening fight scene was, to be honest, it took me off guard. I did not realize how loud it was going to be. I did not expect the gunfight just like that right off the bat. So I was kind of like, oh, geez, what the hell happened here? What did I miss? It's like, did I miss an episode? I was just like trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. But no, they just went straight into a gunfight with the Krang. And of course, they're fighting away. I'm like, what's going on here? And of course, they're winning. And then a second later, Krang, with his annoying voice, says, let's use our new weapon. And of course, the Krang decide to pull out a laser tank out of absolutely nowhere and start blasting up the place. Which I'm like, what? Okay. And I'm like, it was a very weird introduction. I'm like, okay, they're fighting. Okay, that's pretty typical of a Ninja Turtle episode. And they pull out a laser tank. That took me off. That took me by surprise. A laser tank. Jeez, what are they going to pull out next, eh?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I'd say like similar sort of problem. Where like it was like cool to have like Turtles just go straight into a fight, but I would have liked to have like some context around the fight. Like, I'm not too sure like, what sort of context they could have given, but I feel like maybe some was maybe a bit needed. And there's also there was like a cool shot of Leo slicing through a Krang in midair. I thought that was quite cool. And then I found it weird that Donnie's in this particularly in this episode with the fight with the Krang, when he's using the stick to go against all the Krang, he's not really that strong against them, and gets his like bow staff shot broken. But in like a previous episode, you see Donnie hitting the Krang, and so I don't really understand how all of a sudden in this episode, what a coincidence he's not strong, and then like the stick it gets blown away. I found that to be very weird compared to like other episodes in the show. Well, I don't know. I just found it weird and just like, oh, what a coincidence! It's just this episode that it gets short. and yeah. So, oh yeah, after that, Vitel or Donnie in particular takes a Krang droid buddy home. My only question with this is why does he want to take her home now? Um, and yeah, do you have anything to say about that very small scene?
That scene was a bit confusing because I'm like, haven't you fought these guys before, and now you decide to carry a dead robot's corpse back to your lair, like right now? I'm like, why do this now? You could have done this so earlier on. I thought Donnie was already did it, and he was trying to study the Krang, and that's how he was beating them. But no, he decides to take home a Krang's corpse, and surprisingly does nothing with it. At first thoughts was like, "Whoa, Donnie, mate, what you doing? What you doing with that? What you doing with that corpse, mate?" but but yeah, it's that Donnie, you gotta turn it down, mate. Turn it down.
uh,
But apart from that, it was quite a neat little scene where he's trying to shove it down the manhole. I'm like, and of course, Raf's taking the mick out of him, saying, "Is that supposed to fit?" And it's like,
mm,
nah. But oh, many jokes to be made about there. But I won't go into too much detail about that. But
uh, like,
yeah,
yeah, and yeah, after that, Donnie wants goes home, and he wants to get an upgrade, and um, I've I feel like they could have done something really cool here because in the most recent comics, Donnie has a metal booster. I feel like maybe it would have been like quite cool to see like a transition from him using his wooden staff to this one. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's not really too much to really say about this whole scene with Donnie getting a new weapon. However, Donnie wanting April to touch his biceps, I felt like that was very, very weird in so many ways. How did you feel about that scene?
first of all, one, I felt very uncomfortable. Two, alarm bells were ringing, and three, red flag alert. Like literally, Donnie is on. Donnie is a. He's a. I'm not. There's no other word to describe it, but he's a freak. He's like he's head over heels for April. I'm like, mate,
Simp.
you got to tone it back a bit. He's a simp. Yes, literally, he is a simp.
Uh,
I'm like, Donnie is simping for April big time, and I'm like, Jesus. Like, if I was April in that situation, I would be like getting the hell out of Dodge, if you get what I mean.
oh yeah.
Like, I would be running for my life.
Uh, but after that, Leo and Raph are playing on the video game, and I will say this: I feel like this is like one of the only times in the show where where I truly do feel like it shows off the Turtles being true teenagers, and I do really enjoy that scene. I know that it's very simple, but it's very effective in showing off their teenager aspects to the characters. And then after that, April shows the Turtles basically she has an online thread and all that for the Krang and then she goes out to go try and find her father. Any thoughts on that?
That scene where April um, goes off with the sorry the scene where April goes off to of course, actually no, I may be jumping ahead. Sorry.
I was just talking about the scene where April was showing the guys her online thread.
The forum.
Yeah.
Yes. That was pretty genius of her to do something like that, as she's like finding out where the Krang are. But I'm thinking, hold on a minute, why? Like, of course, the internet is like a vast place of information, but why would you trust the internet? But this is a different, complete universe, and of course, there's different complete timelines and how people use the internet. But I thought it's like, yeah, all right. She's being genius about it. She's being big brain about it. So yeah, I give credit to her. So yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say, but I mean, even though it was a really good idea to put online and ask for people to send in videos and pictures and information about everything, but if people are sending videos, why is this not going like mainstream and people not panicking about it? As like, I mean, no, because I'm pretty sure like if you also see a video of an alien walking out with smoke after like a gas explosion, everyone on this planet will go insane for one reason or another. But for some reason, this is only like on the forums page. So I do feel like it was a bit weird, like to have like a big massive thing, but only to be put on the forums page. Um, so yeah, and then also April goes upside or up top side because and the main reason why is just because Toes can't go up because it's daytime. However, when you see her in the next shot, you see her that it's not really that daytime; it's more like nighttime. So yeah, I found that quite a bit weird. Um, and yeah, so after that, Leonardo's watching Space Heroes. Have you noticed that with the Space Heroes event or TV show thing, it's like it really mimics the episode in a way.
It kind of does. Like Leo, of course, he loves that show, and of course, he's taking inspiration from the show to become a great leader. But it has some foreshadowing to it. And I was thinking, hold on a minute, is someone going to turn into someone, and someone's going to have to be put down? I don't want to see this. Come on, it's too early on in the season for that to be happening. But then, of course, we then realise it was something else, and I was relieved that it wasn't someone important happening to that. But of course, we find out that it's someone else, which is a great relief. So I was thinking the worst, but this is a TV series and it's got to keep going, so you can't kill anyone off too soon. So, but that was quite an interesting scene to say the least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And after that, Melhead is introduced, and Mikey's reaction to it, just saying, "Oh, Leo is for you." I feel like that was one of the best lines has in the whole show. But what do you think about Metalhead?
Metalhead. At first, with the big opening scene of Metalhead, I thought, "Oh my god, it's Freddy Fazbear from Five Nights at Freddy's." Like he built Five Nights at Freddy's, and then of course it zooms out, and of course he's little miniature Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear. I'm like, okay, he's built an animatronic. I can see where this is going. It's either one, it's gonna save the day, or two, it's going to be like the Terminator. So I had my theories, and one of those theories I believe is correct. So yeah, when Metalhead, sorry, came in, everyone was like, "What's going on here?" And to be honest, that was my reaction too. I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" It's like, you got your own little butler, or what is this? It's like, what is this thing, Donny? It's like, Donny, mate, you could have built this ages ago, and now you decide to build it now. What's up with that? And just trying to dissect what's going on. But of course, he then tells everyone. But I really don't understand why. Like, come on, you're already Donny. You're already simping, and now you're being a wimp. Come on, fight. That's what you trained to do. You don't build like a butler robot to go and fight your own missions. Like, come on, that's just ridiculous. Like, it's not going well for you, mate. So it's not going well for Donny.
Yeah. Um. Oh. What do you think about the fight Melhead had with the other turtles?
That was, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit surprising because I thought Mikey and Leo's blades would be able to cut the metal, but of course it's made out of some magic element that's from outer space that cannot be broken. And of course, I'm just trying to figure out, how did Leo manage to program all that information, but we then realize it's a crown chip. But how is it able? It's probably some super intelligent AI, which completely goes over my head, and I will probably never understand it. But maybe that's how they beat the turtles, like how Metalhead beat the turtles. I'm like, Seriously, you go against Krang. You go against 6 foot tall gum people inside metal suits every single day, and you can't defeat this little tiny Frazbear looking guy like that your brother built. Like, come on, seriously, just just do something. But it was quite funny when they all got defeated, and I was like, it's a bit ironic, you know. It's a
Yeah,
bit, it's a bit like
yeah.
your brother just beat you with a robot. Like, come on.
Hmm. I'll just say that this fight for me, I really did enjoy it. It really shows off like Donnie's like really inventive and creative side, and I mean like Melhead and Turnstile are always able to do. Um, I do really show and it really does show that. However, the thing and the thing which like really confuses me is Donnie's controller for Metalhead, as it doesn't look like he can do much. It just looks like he can just flick a few switches, but like I don't understand how that can translate into Melhead moving his like whole body, getting out different weapons, killing people. I don't understand that. Like it is such a small controller, probably something for like a drone or something, and he uses on this where like you probably can't. I just found it. Again, I don't want to say it, but like it felt a little bit unrealistic in terms of that way. But like I, but it was a really cool fight to say the very least. And yeah, after that, April is going into the Krang warehouse and she does some ninja stuff, but then suddenly gets caught and then hits a Krang out the window. What did you think about that little scene?
That scene was not gonna lie, that was pretty good. That scene. April used her initiative, and like, she was trying to think like a ninja turtle, sorry, and she was trying to figure out what would they do in that situation. And of course, she's been initiative, and I quite like characters, especially female characters, who take the initiative and show independence and what they're actually doing. Like they can also play a big part in the series, which I just love because like who doesn't love a female character kicking some Krang? Like, come on. I would personally do that myself to a Krang, but she got to do it first. But yeah, I quite like that scene where the Krang got battered over the head with a pipe. God, I would do that.
I'll just say that
Rip out their voice box.
I'll just say that like I do enjoy that scene. It's really does show off like April's ninjutsu side and also does like, show initiative. Uh, but the- but like the one thing which that sort of I found like maybe a bit plot hole or sort of thing was the fact that April should have got spotted because I mean just because after she drops the fire extinguisher, she sees a pipe that is straight in front of her, and somehow she gets it, but the Krang doesn't see her, and then she's somehow able to sneak up on the Krang and hit him. And I don't understand how she didn't get spotted, but I don't know. It's a cool scene to show off April and her ninjutsu skills, but at the same time, I feel like maybe she should have been spotted. Um, but yeah, um, um, oh, after that, we got the Turtles going off to see April about the Krang going to mutate the city. Um, I I absolutely loved Donatello falling into the garbage bin. Um, and then and also the mutants everywhere sort of thing is sort of adapted later into the modern comics. What did you think about Melhead meeting April?
Um, that scene was quite a interesting one because you would expect Donatello to be there, but then of course you got this Freddy Fazbear looking thing replacing him. I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. And then of course he's lumbering around and he's super heavy and he's super loud and everyone can hear him. Even April heard them from a mile away, and it was just like it kind of took the vibe from the group, and of course Donatello's like um he's being lazy. That's all I can say. He's got a robot doing all his missions for him, and this this machine. And quickly going back to the controller thing, how is he able to move
Yeah.
the robot. Like, I
See?
know he's got the joysticks, but then he's got like some old console, like Nintendo or Sega looking controller, and he's able to pull out all these different weapons and other things that we will see later on within the episode. But I'm just trying to figure out how the hell has he got so many weapons? Like, is he using sticky keys? Is he using cheat codes? Like, what is going on? Like, how? Like, unless it's through meant like his mind. This is just a wild theory I'm pushing out here. But like,
Yeah.
he had a headset on, so maybe his headset had features like voice commands that we didn't know about. But that's just my theory going out there at the moment. So I just don't understand how that even works. It's just too complex for me to understand.
Yeah, no, like with the controller, I would understand it if it was like a modern controller. I mean, like I think like the ones like around that sort of time were like the PS3, PS4, and I think like the Xbox 360. I can understand if they were using that sort of controller as I mean, just because like the controllers have so many buttons and you could be able to do all that sort of stuff. But because it's so limited with like the buttons, it is really confusing how, but at the same time, I also can't get the image out of my head of like Donnie just using or of like
Mm,
no,
yeah.
I can just like imagine like Donnie doing like a like a Fortnite sort of thing, um like and like and the only difference is like instead of the emotes, it'll be the weapons. That's
Oh no, please no. I will not. I can't unsee that now. I can't unsee that now. Why? I cannot unsee that.
you're welcome.
Oh jeez. Let's not ruin another thing. Like, I don't want this. No, right. Next thing. Let's go.
Okay, well, I feel like we should probably get the one scene that we probably don't really want to talk about, but we should probably get out of the way. Donnie simping on April through Metalhead,
Oh,
and then talking out
oh
loud.
no.
Please elaborate on your
Oh,
thoughts.
oh my god. My thoughts relate back to my first three thoughts. One, creepy as hell. Two, alarm bells ringing. And three, red flags flying. That is literally my thought process for that scene. My god, Donnie is an absolute simp who literally cannot control himself. And literally, that as that robot turned his head, I'm like, oh my god, he's actually simping for her. And when the funny thing about that scene was, is when he realized that the microphone was on and April could hear everything. April was like, I don't know what April's reaction was. She was like trying to keep it real, like trying to
She didn't
have
react
a
to it.
straight face. She didn't react to it. That was the most
Yeah,
scariest thing I found about it. It's like, hold on a minute, April, this turtle just simped for you. Are you not gonna like say something about this? Are you just trying to blank him? I don't know what you're trying to do, but
here we go again.
I in that yeah, I'm like in that situation, I would be like, dude, no way, that's not happening. But I just didn't. That scene was just too creepy for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, nah. You could agree with me on that one,
Oh,
can't you?
yeah. It is just
Thank
so
you, because that is
cringy.
just no.
Yeah, it's
Oh, cringe, 100%.
yeah. I mean, like, no. I will say this. Like, I mean, like, as a kid, I do think people will find this funny, as it's sort of like one of those like funny sort of things. But looking back on it now, it is just so creepy, cringy, simpy, and it's sort of like one of those like sort of like false human sort of thing in terms of oh because Donnie has the microphone on. So it, I feel like as a kid you would enjoy the scene for being quite funny, but be a bit cringy. But looking back on this now, it is wrong in so many different ways, and I feel like we should probably move on before we go into more disturbing routes. um,
Yes, let's shall move on from this scene.
okay. So yeah, after that, the Turtles go into the warehouse to go fight some Krang. When Mikey jumped down onto the Krang and started punching him, It reminded me of I'm pretty sure you've definitely seen this scene from Family Guy. Do you remember the episode "The Bird Is the Word" and Stries beat on the was it like cassette? No, record. It reminded me a little bit of
Uh,
that.
how can I not forget that episode? But yeah, definitely, that was a funny scene to say the least.
Mm.
But yeah, it's a good analogy of that one.
Yeah, yeah, and then, oh, after that, the Turtles will find the Krang and everyone else losing, and then that's when Metalhead comes in and starts finding the Krang. I want to say that this is like a really good scene for Metalhead. It really shows off his abilities in a much better way than going up against the Turtles. Do you have anything to say about this?
Oh yeah, this scene, like Metalhead comes in. He's like, at first I thought his arms were broken, like his arms were like all messed up, and then of course he forgot to press B in his stance. I'm like, okay, don't think there was a B in that controller scene, but all right, let's go along with it. And then of course the Krang says some line that I can't process, and then of course he then pulls out his entire arsenal of weaponry. I'm like, where are you keeping this stuff, my guy? And he pulls out like a laser Gatling gun. I'm like, I don't think, because going back to the scene where Donnie pulls the corpse into the manhole, I'm thinking, where the hell did he get a laser Gatling gun from? Like,
Mm.
where did he find that? I didn't see him carrying a laser Gatling gun on the corpse or in his shell. I'm like, okay, that's you.
Mm.
And besides, even if you could fabricate that sort of weaponry, like if you could have done that in episode one, you would be winning this war by now. But I digress. I digress. I can't pick at every little bit, but that's just my opinion. But of course, he comes out with rocket launchers as well,
Yeah,
like miniature orbs that roll over the place to blow everything to smithereens,
he's
and to
basically Iron
keep them
Man.
coming back. He is. It's the Ninja Turtle version of Iron Man. I'm like, Donnie, if you could have done this ages ago, you would have won this war. It could have been over like so long ago. But I digress. This is like I'm getting real picky at this episode today because this episode was just a weird one to say the least. It was just, I'm like, well, goddamn, like you should get a Nobel Prize for building that sort of thing. I'm like, why don't you just build why don't you just build a robot for every Ninja Turtle, and that could be the show? Like it'll be like a Japanese knockoff version of the Ninja Turtles, but they're all in Gundams. If you get what I'm saying,
Oh my god.
that's that'll be. I bet there is something like that out there. I'm just
Sadly, there already is.
theorizing. Yep, I knew it.
Okay, well, this next scene is also might annoy you quite a bit as well. Um, and it's like a very small scene, but it annoys me quite a lot as well. But like, Melhead loses signal, but Donnie is somehow still able to see the screen and what Melhead is seeing, and that annoyed me quite a bit because I mean, like, I mean, we both do computing, and we know that like, if you lose signals, you can't do anything. How was he able to see it?
Exactly. Like once you lose signal to a device, you can't reconnect it. There's
Hmm.
no transponder for video unless he's got a giant cable running all the way back down to the sewers, or he's got another transponder, which I don't think he does, but he loses signal anyways. And I'm like, from a technical point of view, I'm like, okay, what's this doing? Is he using satellite? Is he using radio frequencies from like other transponders in the area? And I was getting real technical, and I'm thinking, Hayden, this is literally impossible. This shouldn't happen. You lose signal like that, you can't see anything. He still does, unless something like that. I would expect it to be fuzzy on the screen. Like he's losing signal, the
Mm.
screen should be fuzzy. And of course, you just see glimpses of the Krang doing that, but of crawling into the suit. But I just like what? Like not even my TV's that good at like even if it's losing signal. My TV doesn't display that quality. quality stuff. And also, how does it look like a game? Like I know he makes it into a game because that's the whole
Yeah.
point. He's trying to make it into a game. But how did he have the time to program all the little retro gimmicks like online, offline weapon system? I'm just trying to figure that out.
It's
Just
Donny, I guess. I think that's the only.
it's Donny. Let's just say that because my brain will implode if I pick at this episode too long. But yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out myself, really. So glad you brought that up.
You're welcome. Okay, so yeah, yeah. Um. Um. After that, Vitel's. I still fight Metalhead, and Donny comes in. And why didn't the Turtles just hit the Krang bells on Metalhead's head? But also, did you catch the very slightly inappropriate joke that Donny made towards the Krang, or not?
Yeah, I actually did pick that up. I was like, oh damn. He said your mama. He said your mama jokes. I'm like, okay, your mama jokes. Okay,
Did you
your mama
understand
joke.
it?
Yeah, it's like even though the Krang's decrepit language annoys me to hell, I actually understood it. It's like he was making a your mama joke. It's like your mama's so ugly, something like that to the Krang.
Oh
And of course, the
no, no,
Krang's responded.
no, no! It was way worse than that. It is probably like one of the most inappropriate jokes in told history, actually. Because this is like a historic joke for like World War II and stuff. Um, and basically he called. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering this correctly. I mean, and it's like a really like very inappropriate one. I think it's like calling the mum like a slut or whore sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
Jesus! How did they slip that in there? Jeez, that I thought it was a your mama joke. To be honest, from the Times, I thought it was a your mama joke. Jeez, if it's talking about that,
yeah.
that's kind of crossing the line.
Hmm.
Jesus, how did they get that through production? Like, surely that would ring alarm bells in itself.
Oh,
But
yeah.
no, that literally just went over me. I thought it was a your mama joke, but damn,
There are
I
some.
was not expecting that.
Well, there are some very iffy things that somehow get past censors, and when you really do like take a really deeper look into some of the stuff that especially on like TV shows, it is surprising like some of the stuff they've been able to get away with. I mean, like there was one episode in the '90s, and they was talking about spanking the baby monkeys because he did something wrong. Yeah. uh,
I have no comment for that.
Moving on, shall we?
Yes, let's shall.
So yeah, like there isn't really too much to say after that. I mean, like the ending scene with the rocket. I don't really have too much to say about that, but he's basically like a young terrorist. Do you have anything to say about that with his exploding staff?
Um, yeah, that was a young terrorist. That is a very strong vocabulary to use, Lewis, Teddy. But we are. It is just very,
Perfectly to
very
describe him. He can build metalhead, build rockets, ninjas. He can assassinate people. I feel like I'm not.
like honestly. How the hell is Donatello still living in the sewers? He should be like living the dream. Like he would be president by now, or some random crazy idea like that. He should be running for president. Like Donatello, if you can do this in your father's sewer, like think of the applications that you can do. You can go to war with the powerful countries of the time, and you can win because look what you build. You build like a robot that can just destroy everything. You can make Terminator happen. You can make the Terminators and you can rule Earth, and mutants will be the top dogs of the universe. I'm like, but his ambitions are small. That's he doesn't have the mind that mindset into a grind set. If you get what I mean. But
Luckily,
luckily he doesn't do that because if he did, it would be a very short series because it would
yeah.
be a very short series if that was to happen.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it for that episode. What do you think about the episode overall?
Overall, the episode was quite a weird episode for me. Like especially with the Die Hard simping scenes when
Yeah.
Donatello and April were together. That just freaked me out so much, and I was like, nah, I don't like that. That really creeped me out. That really did creep me out. But overall, it was a good episode, and it was a good little Donatello episode. Like it was very Donatello, and however, it didn't show Donatello in the good kind of way. Like Donatello looks to be kind of like simping.
Oh
He's a
yeah.
bit of a very serious simp who literally is like, I just don't understand why they would like Donatello. For me, he's racking up minus negative point right now. Like Donatello, like come on, mate. I thought you were going to be my favorite, but now you are a die-hard simp, and that's a no-no, very big no-no.
Well, some bad news. It only gets worse from here in terms of the simping thing. Way worse.
Oh, jeez.
But
We're already on minus something. I can't remember how many minus points he's on at the moment.
uh, okay. Yeah, I want to say that this episode, I thought this episode was really enjoyable compared to like a few episodes previously. But I do feel like some of the biggest problems with this episode really do stand out like really heavily in terms of like, oh, the simping scene, you got the technical issues and how it's unrealistic. It's one of those ones where like it's a really good fun episode to watch, but it has so many problems that makes it hard to say it is one of the best ones. Uh, but yeah, also I'd like to say that like this is like a good episode to compare to the Total Temper episode. Well, and I'll say like in that episode it was just sort of out of nowhere his big or his over the top anger issues, and then all of a sudden he gets over it, and then by the next episode you forget about it. This episode I feel like it's a bit more natural in terms of Bunny having problems. I mean, I can understand him like wanting to upgrade his stick because if you have a stick, you would want to upgrade that. So I feel like though it was a bit more natural in terms of this story. Um, but yeah, okay. Do you want to hear some trivia now?
Yep, let's hear some trivia.
Okay, so okay, um, 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 IMDb has Donatello controls Metalhead as an alternate body. In the IDW comics, Donatello nearly died, and it gets really confusing just because he was able to transfer his brain into Metalhead. So it's a bit so yeah. Then Donatello attempts to develop
Seriously?
so basically, there's the two mutants, that like nearly killed him, destroyed his shell, and he was in a coma. And the best way to like keep him alive was to transfer his consciousness and his brain into Melhead's body, and, and then while he was there, he was able to see his mum. But also, this also had like big implications for the future of that series, just because just because after Donatello got back into his own body, the consciousness of the other Donatello was still in Melhead's consciousness, and it still sent him on like a villain path. I would say like it's a really interesting story. Shame that like, they don't do it here. I mean, for obvious reasons, they can't. Um, but yeah, also Donatello attempts to develop his staff with gadgets attached to it. The TMNT 2014 movie, he would also have a staff that and had a telescoping device built into it. In the 87 TV show, the original Melhead was created by Krang and was used to like go up against the turtles, but and afterwards, Dante would rewire it and make it into like a good guy and also like a servant. Um, Turtlepedia says that if Dante was controlling Melhead with a video game controller, that was strikingly resemblance to the Nintendo Entertainment System or the NES as it might be referred to. The Krang takes control of Metalhead, a parody of the Ratat Ratatouille, I think it is. Hmm. Um, also, we had some errors in this one. In the scene of April Metalhead on the rooftop, before he talks to her, the background is blurred. But and the other thing is, and when he speaks, the background suddenly snaps into focus. Yeah, don't hear the cast for this episode.
Before we jump into the cast real quick,
Mm.
uh, but what was that? Ratatouille?
I think so. Well, I guess that's just all that makes sense a little bit in terms of like the like rat controlling the person. Oh, God, that's all a striking resemblance. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how does Ratatouille link with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm like, hold on a minute. Does the rat control the person? Does the person control the rat? What's going on here?
It's my splinter.
Oh my god! Literally, the rat from Ratatouille is Master Splinter. He got older and he got bigger, and he's out for revenge. He's training his own army.
Theory confirmed.
God, oh my god, that's gonna someone's gonna make that into like a comic series. I can
Oh,
definitely see that happening.
that would be an amazing one to see. I mean, it'd be so different, unique, and so out there, but I honestly don't know what to say
It
about
would
this
be
now.
interesting.
But yeah.
Yeah, we're just opening
Okay.
up
Do you
a
want to hear?
whole lot of new canon.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to hear about the cast now?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Okay. So in this episode, we had Donatello done by Rob Paulson, Krang done by Nolan North, Leonardo done by Jason Biggs, Melhead sort of voiced by Nolan North and Donatello, depending on like the person who's controlling him. Michelangelo done by Greg Sykes, Raph done by Sean Aston. Um, we said April done by Mae Whitman. We got Spencer done by Hoon Lee, Captain Ryan done by Brian Bloom, Crankshaw done by Scott Menville, and Dr. Mindstrong done by Ben Cross. Yeah. Okay. So the final thing is that and next week's episode is going to be called Monkey Brains. What do you think is going to happen in that episode?
Monkey brains. Um, I don't wanna say it because if it does happen, then I'm gonna be very shocked
Hmm.
that Donatello is gonna use a monkey to then fight his missions for him. That was my first initial reaction. I was like, look, he's gonna make a monkey that's gonna fight his missions for him again. I'm like, can't have an episode like that again. Can't go through that again. But Monkey Head. Either we see a new boss through we see a new boss develop, like a new villain in the series, like a monkey could get mutagen all over them and could evolve into like a higher being, like a superior ape or like a superior human. I don't know what's going to happen there, but it kind of sounds like we see a new villain. That's what I'm going off of them right now.
Okay, that's a very interesting and bold um, theory for next episode. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Do you have anything else to say?
Um, this episode was quite a creepy episode for me, but overall, another episode to add to the series collection and another one to forget. But apart from that, this episode was quite an interesting development of Donatello's life, which just shows how much of a geek and a simp Donatello is actually to be. So it was quite an interesting one for Donatello. But overall, this episode was, in
Unique.
my opinion, unique. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Unique, this episode. Many words can describe it, but unique is the best suited for this one.
Okay. Yeah, that's all that we've got for this one. Uh, and just like always, if you'd like to send in a message, you can either put in a comment in on the YouTube videos, or you can send it in through via the Anchor app or website. And if you would like to be part of this one day in the future, come on and talk about either 2012 or 2003. There's going to be a Google form page link in the description, and for you to like and just say like what episode you'd like to come on and talk about. But yeah, Um. Oh. Um. 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 Will I do the outro for this one?
Go on then. This has been episode 6 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series of the Nickelodeon series of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My name's Hayden.
I've been Teddy.
And this has been the Talking Turtle Out podcast. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
See you next time.